something.
What the hell? Magnus?
I'm glad you said it because I was just about to say it, Sheep. Magnus.
That seems like such a far different playstyle from what we just saw.
Uh-huh.
Like-
Does it worry you a little bit? Because Execration can sometimes do this. They do great in a game and then they'll change the tempo or the playstyle that worked so well for them.
Magnus, as a hero, is a natural Helmadon buyer, and if he buys the Harpy creep, I'm a believer.
But why do you want that on your offlaner? Wouldn't you rather just put it on any support? Because the Harpy's so
Nope.
broken, you can just throw it on an Ogre.
Do you want to buy a HOD on Ogre?
I would rather do that on Magnus. I'd rather have a Blink on my
I don't know
mag.
if your Ogre's ever going to get there.
I mean, maybe not, yeah.
Well,
Yes.
I think Mag is okay. Why they picked it here, I don't know. Because it's not really good versus Ember at all. So,
Yeah, I'm like,
I don't know.
they have like really nice team fight with the mag, but I really preferred their previous like idea of quick skirmishes with like sanking stun and the storm zipping. And Magnus is really, it's like RP, he can get the shard and do the skewers back, but it's not good against like Ember, you know?
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is Polaris picking up the Ember for Lelouch. It's exactly what you talked about, Fia. And so do you like that aspect for Polaris, this change-up that they've gone for and now picking up an Omni?
Omni looks okay.
Yeah.
I don't hate it. It's gonna keep Ember a little more survivable,
Mm-hmm.
which he'll need. He can bail him out. So like, if they get the repel off of, like, they can stop some RPs with that. The GA is also really good in a game like this versus Magnus, because you normally expect the physical damage to come. They could go a direction of like some Slark or something to like battle through this and still like do damage or at least gain stacks while they are repelled or GA'd.
Kind of scared for this carry though, like that's
It's
coming out in
limited.
Execration. Is they
Mhm.
gonna get the Ogre buff? They're getting the Mag buff. They're getting the IO buff. It's gonna be the biggest carry we've ever seen in Dota 2 history.
who would work so well with all of those buffs?
Like a PA.
Okay, I mean, she's still in the pool.
PA is pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else?
I have
gone.
no
Okay,
idea
she's
if
no longer
Slark.
in the pool. Pick someone else, please.
I don't know if Slark is a hero, but it looks pretty good here too.
Why is that?
It just has a lot of buffs, can farm fast. It's really good at just like poking heroes to get it early defusal. Maybe just like Ember will feel like it'll feel pretty bad split pushing on the map if you pounce them.
Mm-hmm.
So something aggressive. I don't want to see them sit back and farm, because the IO wants to get aggressive with the storm, and Magnus generally as a hero is pretty slow. He doesn't really do very much. So I'm afraid if they pick a carry that's also slow, there's just gonna be so much weight on storm IO, and it's like not enough to like play against all this. Like Omni does too much like counter healing to like for this damage to be enough to kill anyone.
I would like to see Jug. He's kind of like a hero I feel like I've only seen in Europe, or at least, I mean, of the regions I watch.
It's okay.
But like, he's pretty fast. He can do stuff. You know, they can siege with like healing ward. He benefits from all these buffs really well. They don't have any instant stuns. You know, if he gets changed or like the arena, he can just spin and be fine.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really matter to me like what they pick here. This is great
Yeah.
too. I just want whatever they pick there to be like a quick hero. Like
I'm down for that Razor then.
a Razor plus Mag is like not the most amazing thing. Like, what is the purpose of this Magnus in this game? And it's
I don't know.
you're gonna skewer people. and
We
you're
can't answer the Magnus thing, but I feel like Mike and John might be able to. Because I actually have two questions for Mike. One being, did you end up changing your mind about the Dro? And the second is this Magnus. What do you think of the pick, and why do you think it was picked up?
I did not end up changing my mind about the Dro. I'm sure Tino just won that game for them last game around.
That's
and
fair.
secondly, I don't know why you go Mag Razor. It's a bit weird, right? Like, no one power target. I don't know. It's a bit of a weird draft this time from Execration, right? And then you got Nature's Prophet for Natsumi, and we know Natsumi plays this hero really damn well. So I feel like the draft was going great until this Razor came out. I'm not sure about this.
What about
I think
yourself,
the
John?
mindset of the Razor and the Mag is that you have 3 melee heroes to link up. It's not going to be too hard for the Razor to just run one of them down. You get a lot of good damage off. Magnus is going to give you your teamfight control. So it makes sense there, but I'm with Mike here. I mean, Natsumi learned from Skem when he was on Neon, so that's a pretty good Nature's Prophet right there. It could kind of cause trouble for Execration if you're not ready.
Alrighty, the classic prediction for you guys. Do you like this random mag Razor pairing? Or do you like Polaris and their comfort on NP?
I do like the NP.
Yeah? You gonna go with Polaris here? For game 2?
I don't like the NP at all. I think NP is incredibly hard to play versus Storm, especially with IO. And I think Mag,
With
IO.
Omni.
I think Omni plus the NP here, IO Mag is gonna free farm versus it should. So.
Guess you could go Orchid on Storm too.
I'll leave these two
Oh.
to bicker it out a little bit more as we do head into game 2, please, John and Mike.
John, I was meaning to ask you during game 1, but are those new bed sheets? Because they look very nice.
Yeah, they are. They are. They're lovely. I know people doubt if this is real. I am patting my actual bed. That is real. And what is real is that we've got the game on. Natsumi on the NP, you know, Fear, not feeling it. I can get why. Like, there are a lot of ways to jump that Nature's Prophet. You have a lot of mobility here on Execration. It's just hard for me to doubt Natsumi as a, you know, as a student of SCEM. As one of the best NPs that we've seen, especially when he was still playing Pause 1 for a while on Boom and on Neon. It's just something Natsumi knows really well because of that time. We've seen him perform this hero a lot, so I'm keen to see if he can bring out that performance. The lane up against Magnus, though, could end up being very farmy in favor of the Magnus, so that is of a concern, and we've seen Tino already pop off. Same thing happens here. If he hits a good blink timing, he can just skewer back, he can set all these plays up for Execration that Polaris might not be ready for, Mike.
Shout out to Pythian as well, by the way, Johnny. He gave us the reverse camera just then, and you didn't really comment on it whatsoever. I'm very upset with you about that, but it was a very nice reverse camera.
30
So,
seconds
no
to
motion
go.
sickness as well, John. Very, very smooth right there from Pythian. So, in case Fear's still listening as well, I mean, I still think Nature's Prophet is a trash hero, right? Like, it's not a good hero. But every time we see Natsumi playing it, he does a brilliant job on it. So, I only have faith in the hero because Natsumi's playing, is what I'm trying to say here, John. It's still no scam,
That's
though.
fair. I think it's close. I mean, he learned from SCEM. He's the student. He's the disciple. You know, disciple of SCEM. So I think we can expect some good plays. A bit of engagement already, though.
It certainly is. It's going to be a 2-for-2 trade on the bounty runes as they are going to go for a bit of a chase. Hammer of Purity flies out from Mavis. Don't know why, but that spell always just kind of makes me laugh inside, John. It's just a silly spell on Omni Knight. Still, while we're here at the top lane, Natsumi Mavis against Tino Shanks. Fear didn't have much faith in the Prophet, John. He said this IO and Mag lane should be able to free farm this whole time. How do you feel about that comment?
I can see why. It's not the easiest lane for an NP. Your treants just kind of melt away. You're going to have to really block quite well. We've seen Natsumi do that before. But blocking a Magnus is tough. Blocking a IO with Tether is tough as long as it's off cooldown. So your kill opportunities are limited. Mavis is doing a good job of just using that Hammer of Purity to kind of get some soft harassment off. But you can see that regen coming through from Shanks. With the early head rest, it heals back up. So your aggression here for Polaris isn't quite there. Maybe by level 2, when you have a value point in the Sprout, you could try something. Again, that's a Magnus. He's probably going to have Skewer at the same time. There's an IO with Tether. Locking in these two heroes is just not that viable for these two on the end of Polaris.
Yeah, certainly not. We were just having a look down at the bot lane where you did see Force and Xavius against Palos and Vincenzo with a lovely sticker right in the middle of the lane. Very, very annoying to look at, I'm sure, for the enemy. But how do you feel about this bot lane? Like, it does feel like the Razor should have a decent time, right?
Yeah, it's not the toughest lane for a Razor. At the same time, you're probably not going to get the most use out of the static link with a spear to toss you back. So you're also maybe not going to be as aggressive as you'd want. You could try to play with Fire Blast and that stun duration to get something. Force should still have a pretty decent time farming, but it's not going to be completely shut out lane for Palos either. So it's a lot more even. You could expect some aggression, mainly from Polaris, really. Once they have the double stun with a cookie up, you could look to make some plays. Vincenzo is going to be a really nice target to go for. It is just an Ogre Magi, but every kill counts, and if Force does get a faster blink timing, that could lead to activity for Polaris by, you know, around the 10-minute mark, 12-minute mark. So you do want to get that aggression rolling here for Polaris, and the good shake-up here for Polaris as well is that Xavius is on here. That's not the greediest. You know, like we talked about Shadow Shaman needing a blink, needing 8 relents. Snapfire is not quite that greedy, so you can expect some early activity coming out from him as well.
Yeah, certainly so. And of course, the mid lane, Lelouch on the Ember against Bob once again on the Storm. Pretty classic matchup here between these two. Should be a very even kind of affair between the two Spirit Brothers, but do you give the advantage to one or the other, John? Do you feel like Bob's Storm can beat Lelouch out here in the mid lane against December?
It's a really even matchup. You just have to be careful on the Ember to get caught with the Vortex Remnant double overload combo. At the same time, both of you kind of clear out the wave at the same pace. This one really just boils down to rune control and a little bit of player skill. It is maybe slightly easier for the Storm. You do still have to respect the Ember's slightly better early timings, I'd say. I do feel like Orb of Corrosion plus Phase Boots is maybe a lot stronger than Storm with null power treads. It just feels like a lot more damage coming out from Lelouch when he does hit that point. But Bob does have an IO, and we've seen that IO Storm combination, especially from Talon before, so that still lies there for Execration. That means Bob doesn't need as much to really start making some plays here.
Certainly not. Still, no first blood coming out yet, though, as I say that. Damage going on in the mid lane, or even top lane. They're going to try and move in onto Mavis. A lot of damage onto the Omni Knight, but not quite enough, especially once that Heavenly Grace is out. Mavis becomes a lot tankier as they'll fight back against Tino. Nice shockwave, but again, it's not going to be enough. Natsumi making sure Mavis does remain alive there on the Omni. You've got to give it to Fear, though, Jonathan. I mean, he wasn't wrong. Tino is freely farming up on this Magnus, and it feels like there's no real contest.
And you just can't do much. Like, your controls really just Sprout. Mavis has to walk up. There's always the threat of Skewer backline.
Oh, very fire up. He's going to try, but it's not going to be enough. Bob able to secure first blood on the Storm Spirit. Nice little rotation up from Shanks to give that added regen. Well, the mid lane becomes a hell of a lot more difficult now if you are Lelouch.
And that's what we were just talking about. You still have the IO Storm combo. You come in early, overcharge up. Makes it really easy to melt through the Ember Spirit. And despite those maybe better early timings on Ember with itemization, Bob's always going to be a lot stronger. He's dominating the lane now, 30-8. In stark contrast to Game 1, he had a rough time against that Necrophos, but now he's dominating, and that's a worrying sign for Polaris. If Bob's online and VI is ready to back him up, this Storm is barely going to run out of mana. He's going to be able to zip into the backline, clear out the supports, clear out the Nature's Prophet, which is the biggest concern.
And Natsumi really taking advantage of the teleport early on, does rotate down bot for that added damage. A nice setup there from Xavius and Forster to take down the Razor. That's one thing you've always got to be concerned about, John. It's kind of like having an IO, except this hero can actually do damage.
Yeah. Gotta be careful, though.
Yeah, speaking of the devil, Natsumi gonna be chased down, but the Heavenly Grace gonna tank him up just enough, though Tino with the shockwave is not gonna land. It is not gonna land, and now Xavius has rotated over. They can't get Tino either, but what does it matter? You'll be happy just protecting Natsumi's life. Polaris Esports, they can just keep the farm up.
That's still a good movement out from Execration, forcing 3 heroes top, opening up your bot lane, knowing that the mid's much more free for Bob. It gives you a lot of room to move around now on Vincenzo, and we already see Vincenzo coming up to help secure that 6-minute clear.
Tino able to finally secure the kill there onto the Prophet as now Xavius does rotate over. Shockwave, it's not going to help. Mavis able to take the kill as now Shanks will be chased down, but he can always just tether away. So they do eventually get some revenge there on Tino, but it's kind of concerning seeing how easily Tino does get down the Nature's Prophet as now Mavis gonna get caught out to boot, and he will drop very quickly. Bob does take him out, and Natsumi, I'm not sure about this. That's a very risky play from Natsumi. Lelouch is going to try and come in and help out, but they might still have him, and they do. Oh, they get Shanks, but now Lelouch is completely out of mana, and here comes Tino to clean up the top lane. Though a nice cookie out from Xavius may have saved the day as they are still trying onto Bob, but Lelouch has gone too far. Xavius, he's the one to clean up with the shotty, but Tino, he'll keep the chase going as Xavius will turn again, but Vincenzo is going to be there this time around. And I'd still say that was a much more worthwhile trade here for Execration.
Yeah, it's starting to shape up for Exa. We're seeing that early aggression come out from Bob, from a stronger laning start. Double null with an eye around means you really don't run out of much to get that movement out. And they are still making all these plays happen far away from Paulus. His lane is, again, a lot more manageable than the last game. You're not seeing an overwhelming lead on Force as you did in Game 1, so Paulus is still keeping up and form quite nicely. And,
they got Vincenzo. They'll commit the Mortimer's Kisses for that. Just a very easy chains into the Kisses combo there onto the Ogre. Seems like Polaris aren't interested in messing around here as now Lelouch gonna get jumped on Bob. Big Vortex out. Lelouch does have a remnant to get away, but he needs to commit it, and now they're zipped forward. They're gonna keep going as Bob, he has the regen, but he needs one more right-click Shanks. He's gonna try and keep up. Lelouch is fine though. In fact, now they're in a town. This force does take down Shanks. But Bob, he's gonna be okay. Still a very close call there onto the Ember, but they do protect as Bob is gonna try and fight over the power room, but it is not top lane. Instead, he'll try onto the Ember. His force does scare him back away. They will get a double damage rune down bot here for Polaris, but already a very close matchup between these two teams.
Yeah, and you're seeing that shift in aggression now from Polaris. They're dragging in Force a lot earlier to help out. They do leave Mavis alone up top. Nice solo kill coming out from Tino. But you are starting to, you know, line up your eggs. You're starting to save out Lelouch. You know that the Ember is going to be a lot of that momentum. They have some control issues here, though, Mike. Holding down the Storm is a very tough prospect. It feels like you only really have chains and maybe a cookie stun. Spear is nearly impossible to land there.
Bot lane, Palos gonna go down again though on the Razor as now Vincenzo does rotate to try and help out or get something for his team as Bob will be there as well. Onto Force, they want the Mars dead. Spear is gonna be juked down as well by Bob. Vincenzo still chasing down, does get the Fire Blast into the zip from Bob. Though they do get Tino top lane in the meantime. Bob, can he reach for one more? It doesn't seem like it. They'll at least get the Snapfire out and, well again John, that was a trade across the map as you also lost Tino on the Magnus.
Yeah, I think you're still pretty happy about that going the way of Bob. You know, you're starting to really build up on the Storm. He's rushing a BKB this game as well. So he knows that he's just got to play really fast, that the entire team of Execration wants to hit this early timing with early spell immunity and just get running. Although, Palos...
Yeah, he's having a very rough time here, John. Palos is going to try and do the moonwalk backwards, but it's not going to work. Lelouch, not a big fan of Michael Jackson, does take him down. Palos, he's not able to get anything done here on the Razor, John. Third death of the game already, and we're only 9.5 minutes in.
Yeah, again, his lane went fairly okay. It wasn't a complete stop. It's just that he can't do much in these fights. Like, yeah, it's 3 melee heroes you could try running down. You're not at the point in the Razor where you can just stand and fight. It's not like you have an early BKB. He's working towards the Fever first. Fighting over mid, though.
Xavius gonna get jumped on here. Bob not able to really secure the kill as you're always gonna have Mavis there with a Heavenly Grace. That's gonna make it just infinitely more difficult to kill off Xavius or anyone for that matter. You've got to really start to get concerned here for Execration, right? Because again, Palos is just having such a rough time. You might have to just hope that Tino can carry the game because he's top the net worth board right now.
And he's about to hit that point as we saw in game 1 where the blink comes out. So only about 290 gold away. Polaris using that downtime really great, pushing in the bot lane, getting tower for themselves for the NP. And we are seeing Natsumi go for that Orchid. So you're going to have that hold for the Storm down the line. Really important to hit that timing. Mid still under pressure though, and that's a tower Polaris absolutely cannot afford to lose.
I mean, you can't really push it down that effectively, but they do have the siege creep, and they have Shanks tethered to said siege creep, so they are getting a bit of damage off. About half the HP of the tower gone now, but they are going to back off and not force too much. I think if you are Execration, you're just waiting for the blink dagger timing on Tino to really get moving. And if you're Polaris, I mean, considering the draft you have, you'd probably just much rather keep the farm up. That's exactly what they'll do for now.
I like the skill build from Tino as well, opting to max out the Shockwave and the Skewer. He's not using Empower on anyone, all ranged heroes, so just going for the utility, going for the repositioning plays. And once that blink is up, that investment in skill points will pay off. It's flying out now, looking to apply pressure onto the top lane just a tad bit, but not going to fully commit. In that downtime though, again, Polaris is inching towards that Orchid on Natsumi, and they are starting to really just protect their mid-tier. They're not allowing any sort of pressure from the Plump Up.
Speaking of Natsumi though, John, he has been caught this time. Palos able to move in with Shanks and help out and killing off the Nature's Prophet. Though now Force does move in onto the IO. Gonna be one gone. Palos already so darn low with the chains out from Lelouch. He might just drop it. Bob's gonna move back in and now the RP's out. It's only call 1 though. Lelouch managed to juke with the Sleight of Fist, and now they can move back in for the counter initiation. There goes Palos, there goes Tino, and there goes Bob, just zipping right out of that team fight. I believe the Sleight of Fist just in time to juke out the RP, as they'll find another. Onto the Ogre they go. Xavius not even going to drop here on the Snapfire. He does manage to TP his way out, and he will survive for another day.
You love to see that counter initiation coming out from Polaris. Really good attempt coming out from Tino with the first RP with a blink reveal of the game. Not quite catching the heroes he wants though. And the Guardian Angel just kind of messed him up as well. Took out a lot of the bite of the Storm, having to rely only on Overload, none of its right clicks really doing work. And that's going to be a consistent issue. Lelouch gonna be able to juke that out. So not going to get dived, but will lose some of the jungle camps here. Execration still maintaining that aggression, but I think the big issue still stands. You're dragging in your Razor to these fights, Mike. He still doesn't have a BKB. So it's not like he's in full fighting form for a full 5-on-5. That Diffusal Blade that Polaris is still building up, not quite there yet as well. And yeah, it does sound good on paper though. Inhibit with Static Link makes it a lot easier to run down those melee heroes. Eventually though, someone's going to have to build something to remove that Guardian Angel, because they're going to need a Dispel to just get damage off here.
Absolutely. Natsumi now mid lane will join his team with the Orchid up on the Prophet. Chains out onto the Ogre though. Tino has rotated but can't really help. Vincenzo somehow allowed to run out. In fact, a skewer back now onto Force. They might just have the Mars. In the meantime though, Bob's been caught out on the side and he's taken down. Relocate or not, Palos, he's going to be right there with him. Into the graveyard they go. A very kind of aggressive style of fight to try and go for here for Execration. And I don't know if they saw the Orchid available on Natsumi.
It's a fresh pickup. Like, Natsumi just comes in, that fresh piece of control, gets the silence off onto Bob, and once you pin down that Storm, he becomes a lot easier to manage. He is rushing the BKB still, but that is still a ways off. Like, they have been kind of just giving the farm out onto Tino, giving him the safe camps to build up on, and they haven't really been able to get as much. Bob's been a lot more active this game. Inside of Polaris are starting to find those openings. Witchblade next for Natsumi. You can start really just hunting down. As you mentioned, Mike, it is like you have an IO, except Natsumi can come in by himself, not risking the support, and suddenly you have bodies on top. With the mobility you have on the Ember as well, makes jumping these softer heroes a lot faster. Polaris are going to go for a smoke play. They get a good scan off as well, but it's not a big core they'd want to kill here.
Just Shanks. Well, they aren't even going to be able to find him, but they might find the stacks being made up. Only double stacks for now, and that's not really what they want, so instead they're going to rush in. In fact, they're going to find Palos with the Arena and the Spear Town. It's going to be such an easy pick-off here for Polaris Esports. And once again, Execration, they just aren't prepared to be able to fight back into this. And so the triangle will be taken over now by Polaris. Execration, they just don't have the answers.
No. And you know what as well? It just crossed my mind. Last time we saw Natsumi take the Nature's Prophet, do you remember that, Mike? He went for the level 20 talent with a Sprout Leash. Yeah, BKBs aren't going to do much against that as well. So you do have scale and control coming out down the line. So even with the spell immunity that will eventually come out for, say, Bob, he's going to have to find a way to deal with NP. I still can't believe that level 20 talent pierces BKB, man. It's pretty ridiculous.
That's fair, John. It's not like Nature's Prophet has a stun or anything. I mean, goodness me, you've got to get something. They do take down the Ogre. Vincenzo's going to drop. I don't understand what you found so weird about it, John. Level 20, you know? This hero, yeah, he can TP across the map, like constantly at level 25, but he needs a way to hold people down too, John.
God. I remember that game. Spirit.
Oh,
nice
what a spear.
spear.
Yeah, Force. Spidey senses were tingling. Tino, he'll try to back off, but there's no TP available to commit. Was already cancelled by Force. That'll be a death onto the Magnus, and well, Tino's really fallen from grace here, John. Top of the net worth now down to the 5th lowest on the map, and it just seems like Polaris, they have such a great grip on this game number 2.
Yeah, they're just finding everything they want. They're playing around with the threat of the teleportation from Natsumi really well. They're really getting their push going as well with the treants off. And it's so hard to pierce through the shell of Polaris. Heavenly Grace makes it tough. Guardian Angel makes it tough. Your damage output is still mainly physical. Even with a Storm, like there's only so much he can do. He does rely a lot on the Overload. The Remnants can do some work, but these heroes are getting tankier. And you're just lacking that burst window now to deal with Polaris. So, gotta find a way to rectify that. Again, BKB on Bob is gonna help him stand up front. I think you are starting to look at Palos. You know, you're starting to look at the Razor. He's got the Diffusal Blade up, Mike. Inhibit plus static Link is nice. He's gonna need a BKB to really stand up and fight, and that is still a ways off here for a Razor.
It is a hell of a ways off right now. In the contrast of things, I mean, Natsumi, he's farming like a madman right now on this Prophet. Witch's Blade is now available. Going for a BKB of his own. There's just been no way to stop him so far in this game, number 2. Execration, I mean, maybe just kind of farming for the later stage of the game, but what have they caught? It's going to be Vincenzo. They're trying to make a run, but it's highly doubtful he gets away, as Natsumi's going to be there with the Orchid out. Lelouch, he will get godlike now on the Ember as he happily takes the kill and moves right back in onto Bob. Does manage to zip away. But once again, Execration, they just don't seem to be in a position where they can really go for anything themselves. They're just trying to buy themselves more time, but I'm not sure if time really helps with this kind of draft.
Towards the late game at the very least, RP is one way to kind of deal with BKBs. It's always a big threat in the high ground defense, and it's always relevant in the game. It scales really well. Your timings in the Razor does feel like it's not going to scale too well. Again, your static link is nice with Inhibit. You're going to be static linking heroes that don't really care for it, like say static linking Omni Knight, static linking a Mars, they don't really care. Ember is not someone you can maintain the link to with the Remnants, and NP as well can just kind of teleport around. So you're not stopping the big cores who do damage with a static link, and that means that Polaris will still have damage to play with. Just again, falling back onto the Razor for the late game is it's a big question mark on my mind. We still haven't seen the effect of that Inhibit as well on the Diffusal. I mean, it's nice, but it doesn't purge anymore. It used to be that you play against Omni Knight, you take a Diffusal, you're good.
Mid lane, Tino not going to be saved there by the IO. In fact, they're going to have another kill now as Shanks does have to relocate back into the map. Eventually. Make his way over. Hello, Shanks. Bye-bye, Shanks. Lelouch to take another. You might start thinking about Roshan very soon as Polaris. I mean, there's just no contest right now.
No stopping it. There is the threat of RP on the respawn, but it's a tough one for Tino to find that angle. I think Polaris has been much more disciplined this game, and
yeah, he's in trouble. There is no escaping. Palos to drop on the Razor. Just not a very good game whatsoever for Palos thus far. Polaris, they're not going to bother for Roshan yet, but they're just dominating the map. There's not really much else to say. It's 9-22 right now with an 8k net worth advantage. And maybe now they make their way over. But it doesn't seem like they're in any form of a rush.
I think they just respect the fact that, again, Execration has some counterfight there. They've got to deal with Storm, who can try to zip in. BKB is up for Bob. So all of a sudden, your Orchid's not going to be doing as much to hold back the Storm. And Execration will go for a 4-man smoke. They do not have the best vision right now. I mean, they've got some really good wards on the opposite side of the map. They are rushing onto Force instead here.
Force does break the smoke, but a quick blink away. You'll see the Ogre. The smoke broken. No reaction out from anyone on Execration. Not quick enough anyway.
Radiant are scanning.
Once again, another smoke kind of just going to waste here for Execration as Polaris very, very calm. Oh, even trying in the mid lane was Bob on the Storm, but nobody going to show up in the mid lane for him to just jump on. And what else can you do? Like, Palos, I guess he's very close to a BKB now, but they've got to be able to actually find the enemy.
Yeah, got to be able to get that jump in. And again, their wards are pretty nice to play around mid. The issue is that mid-tier one still stands. They haven't been able to use those wards to get that push in. So one of them fades now, one still standing. BKB up on Natsumi. Means holding down the Nature's Prophet becomes a lot tougher. Lelouch has his fresh BKB as well, still in the 9-second charge, and is working towards the Axe. So we're reaching the point where the Ember's just very, very, very difficult to hold down with the stuns you have on Execration. It does feel like the pressure is ramping up here onto Tino. We need to see some good RPs. We need to see some good skewer back, because the spell immunity is making it tough for them to find the openings, and they need that instant control to enable Bob to get a lot of damage off here.
They do make their way over into the mid lane again here, Polaris. Double damage was available on Lelouch, but it's wear off now. In bottom lane, they do see Natsumi on the Nature's Prophet, but they can't make the jump in with just the Razor IO. So instead, Polaris, they just rush into the Roshan pit. And they took their sweet time with this, but they feel confident now. Just with the BKBs available, there's just not really much in the way of stopping them here. Execration, it seems like they have absolutely no idea this is happening. And hell, even if they did, even with the Magnus up, I just don't think they can fight. And so that'll be a free Roshan to go the way of Polaris. We'll see where they move to now. I mean, I guess you could start looking towards those T2 towers. Not really much in the way of stopping them.
Again, they've got 3 fresh BKBs now on the side of Polaris, forced just getting his as well. They're really in a good position to just force these fights. Execration still stalling out, still trying to build up. And farming where they can while they can down in bot jungle. They will smoke up now. Have a good angle to maybe force something, but they have the low ground here. Polaris just standing in the triangle. Makes it hard to find that good angle.
Vincenzo's going to try and bait for his team here on the Ogre. It feels pretty obvious, but pings are coming out. Polaris, they might be confident to jump in and they will try. Force is there. Ogre's already gone. Bob, he's going to try and fight back, but the Heavenly Grace is going to save the day. Is now Lelouch. He just rushes in. Onto the Razor they go. Palos is still going to run though. Polaris is still chasing down for more. They catch nobody else, but they can go right into the T2 mid tower. And again, you've got to try and stop them, not the other way around. If they do try now, with the skewer back on the force, he will pop the BKB and TP out, but the RP's been committed. They've got to get something for all this trouble, and that they will. They'll at least find the Mars, but they lose their IO and they lose their mid T2 tower.
Yeah, that's a pretty costly play for Execration. They find something, they will go for a smoke play now, but they don't have RP to back them up. And again, you still have BKBs up on Lelouch, on Natsumi to get that next fight going. Along with that Heavenly Grace, it's just causing so many issues. I think right now for Execration, you've got to find Mavis. You've got to somehow pin down this Omni Knight, prevent the Guardian Angel from coming true, prevent the Heavenly Grace from coming true, because even if Bob gets a good jump, as long as Mavis is around, your control is just gone. And they need that window to find a kill to get the numbers advantage for Execration.
Well, T2's going to drop the free. Easy towel for Polaris. TP mid now, maybe just trying to find a straggler here from Execration. Lelouch not able to keep up with the storm though. He's going to miss out on that kill attempt, and immediately Execration do TP down towards the bot lane, and again just trying to secure that farm onto Palos. They might still have an angle here on Shanks in the IO though, the top side, if he does show on the creep wave. It does look like he is going to move into the free line and just back off instead. I guess this is all you can do. Just keep split pushing. Trying to buy more time here if you are this Radiant team, to give yourself a real opportunity to try and have a chance in this game number 2. Polaris though, it's so hard to see them losing when they control the whole map like this.
Yeah,
bot lane. Pings around to Palos here, John. They might move in, and they do. Nice arena down with the spear follow-up and the Mortimer's Kisses, though Palos, he does have a BKB available if he does choose to use it, and does have to, just to be able to walk away. They'll get Shanks instead on the IO, and now the chase is on for Vincenzo on the Ogre, and they'll get the chains out. The cookie's way off the mark there. Lelouch does turn his back, but it just won't matter. Vincenzo's gone.
Find the kills. Nice simple support kills this time around, but that does open up high ground. And there is still the threat of RP from Tino, and again, it's just been tough to line that up. And we're reaching a point, Mike, where Natsumi's gonna hit level 20. So the leash through the BKB is not gonna feel fun for Palos, not gonna feel fun for Bob, as they will be stuck in the tree line. I mean, it just feels terrible, especially for something like the Storm, right? He wants to be able to jump around. It's a leash. It's just gonna be held there in the trees. Even if you chop the trees, it still leashes him. It's perfectly balanced, Mike. There it is, level 20 for Natsumi.
You think that's great, John? Wait till he gets to level 25. He can just TP wherever the hell he wants off cooldown. Like, there's no cooldown, John. I mean, this has been here for years, and I still wonder how it's still in the game. They are going to smoke up now at Execration. 5-man smoke up, in fact. Could be really terrible timing, though, considering that level 20 talent is now up. But they are going to rush the top lane to try and find Natsumi, who doesn't really have help around him right now. The zip in is there. Bob, he gets silenced immediately, but Natsumi has been caught out. He might just drop, and he does. At least once. But now the arena down here from Force to try and turn around. They found Tino, and they find the IO. It happens that darn quickly. It's Palos. BKB TP out of there, and he's gonna make it. Natsumi, I think he forgot about his ultimate there, John.
He sprouted Lelouch instead. If he sprouted Tino, leash through BKB. Need I say more? No. They would have found out. Still, you are seeing the issues it's causing, and you had a really good angle from Bob to clear out the Aegis. He was just stuck in the tree, and now, without the threat of RP, they've got a window here to just go high ground. No protection run for Natsumi, so he's got to be a bit careful, and that will lead to them backing off, but it's just so hard for Execration. They get the jump in, they get Aegis off, that's nice, but it was about to expire anyway. Good timing for Polaris to force that kind of bait out. They don't find a big kill if they really want to go high ground. I think you really want to pin down Bob, force a buyback from him. Although,
Bob's going to get rather aggressive here onto Xavius, but he doesn't really have the damage. Though Tino may, as he does go for the Haunt Toss skewer back, though Xavius is still somehow alive. He does finally drop, but now with the leash shot onto the Storm. That'll be a great trade here for Polaris. I'll be very happy with that one. A 16k net worth advantage here from Polaris Esports. But they are playing this rather surgically, aren't they, John? Just no openings being given the way of Execration.
no, certainly not, Mike. They're just holding their ground. They're farming up. They're giving very bad angles for Execration to try and take. Like, this is a Magnus game. And sure, you don't have the best in power targets, but you have RP. You've got this combination with your Storm down the line where you could get Ag, so like it's gonna feel like a double RP in those team fights. It's just a ways off for that for Bob, and we just haven't seen Tino deliver the goods as he did in game one. It's a harder game for him to execute on that Magnus. There's just so many saves coming out from Polaris, and it's at that point where you start to consider late game scaling. You know, this is a Razor up against, yeah, 3 melee heroes, but one big range core that he cannot stop.
Oh, top lane Tino, chained up by Lelouch, not going to go anywhere. So he does end up going down, no problems here for Polaris. Though mid lane, they are going to find Xavius once again, but he is still a very tanky target. He does finally drop, just barely though, as Mavis was coming around to try and save the day. I'll try to catch the Storm out there, but Force just off the mark with the spear. So 1 for 1. Still in the favor of the Dire. They might even find another here. Vincenzo, he's going to maybe be able to pick up the regen route. But pings are out. Force going to move in. Does land the spear, and that's going to be another kill here for Polaris. There's just no way for Vincenzo to get out of that one.
Nice easy kill coming out there. Not the biggest in the Ogre, but still starting to build up on Natsumi. He has a massive lead over everyone else now. Like 21k net worth. Next in line is just Lelouch 15. The rest of Execration kind of trailing behind at 13k each, 10k on Tino. They don't have quite the items yet to deal with this massive NP. I think you are still looking for eventually an Ags on Bob. A refresh and AC on Palos, I think, is the way to go here. Again, just not enough farm to get flowing there. They don't have enough of the map to play with. Look at all the sentries out. Look at a couple of rewards here from Polaris, keeping a good eye on the jungle. No forward vision, or not much forward vision here for Execration to play on the opposite side of the map. They don't really have the creep wave control to even reach out into that top jungle. And now you have to deal with a Scotty up on Natsumi. So you can just run you down, take off some of the regen that the IO is giving you as well. It makes it hard to play that sustain game. Makes it hard to play that saving game now with the IO. And Rush is not a long respawn here, Mike. Half a minute away. Polaris in a good position to just secure the triangle once more and go for Rush number 2.
Absolutely. They'll scout it out. They are about 20 seconds early to the Roshan pit. But again, it won't matter. They control the whole Roshan side. They're just trying to hunt for more heroes before they do move in. And well, now you've got the Gobble Up available on the Snapfire, so you can really express delivery somebody towards the enemy team. Here we go. Radiant Triangle. They may move in now. Execration. On top. Who have they got? It's going to be Lelouch. It's a great target. They even commit the RP, but that's a lot of gold to go the way of Tino. There's now Bob. We'll try for another, but not going to be able to hold down Mavis for now. Let's move in again. We'll have the backup of Palos coming in, but now the Gobble Up is there. Force will not land a spear very nicely as the BKBs were out, but Bob dropping low. A great relocate away from Mavis. Might buy him a bit more time to counter-initiate once again in this team fight. But no, they're just going to let Vincenzo die here, it seems. They'll wait for the IO to make his way back over. Or even pick up Shanks. I suppose you can still go right into the Roshan pit now if you want. But never mind that, because Natsumi's found Palos on the Razor. He went back to farm top lane, and he's going to pay for it.
You cannot afford to get caught out by the NP like that. At this point, again, Sprout, it's a very strong skill into the late game. Level 25 up for Natsumi. Think about it, Mike. It's a 8-second cooldown, 6-second duration leash. And you need a Force Staff to break that. I think that's the only thing that will, as they almost find someone up top, but just go back to the Roche, respawn very short here for Lelouch. He's going to be able to join in the next fight. And because they had to pop RP to kill off Lelouch, there's no threat here from Tino. It's all down to Bob. He's not in position for a steal attempt. And that's just going to give Polaris now tools to access the high ground safely.
That's my favorite part of any Nature's Prophet game, John. It's the constant TPing around the map. Have fun, Mr. Pythian. Never fun for the observer, let me tell you, John. So, top lane, they'll start setting up. It's been a very slow game compared to game number 1, but this is kind of what you expect when you've got an MP in the game, John. It's a lot of farming, a lot of split pushing. If it's Natsumi, a lot of domination, as we've been seeing. 22k net worth advantage, but they aren't in any kind of rush to try and go high ground yet. They're more than happy to just keep the farm going. Keep that net worth lead just extending against Execration. There's Gobble up, mid lane, Xavius. Yeah, just gonna toss Lelouch into the creep wave. Just helping him out.
Oh, I love this, Mike. Natsumi has the full Revenant's Brooch. Who is spotting Bob?
He's gonna zip away and he'll go right for the TP out. Very, very nice. But yeah, Revenant's Brooch is now available, which is very nice.
It's always so nice, and I mean, you don't have like a Ghost Scepter to really play with, so you know you're not gonna be running people down. But at this arm, Palos.
Yeah, they've got Palos. Natsumi will just TP and do it by himself. Look at this. Well, they're gonna try and slap back with the BKB now. Natsumi? No, they're gonna relocate him out. Where's Natsumi going? Down a bot lane, he has caught out the Ogre. In the meantime, a fight has broken out bot side as Tino is going to drop on the Magnus immediately to Xavius. I mean, it's just so hard. No matter where you go now, Natsumi can just be there at any time. You saw the Ogre trying to split push, but it just makes no difference.
They are backdooring. They don't have creeps on the high ground yet, so it's a slower process. They are dealing with a storm that can push the creep wave quite nicely, but of course Natsumi can do the same. They are doing a good job on Execration to stall this one out. If they can hold long enough for Tino to be back up, RP is going to be a threat. Screw back onto the fountain is a real possibility.
They're trying to catch him. Sprout down. Trying to see if the storm will zip through and get leashed up. Natsumi is preparing for the zip. They do get the bottom racks down, and well, believe it or not, they are just going to go back to split pushing right now. Get those other creep waves sorted out. Execration again, going to find a way to defend high ground. Very, very challenging to do so against this Nature's Prophet. Your tier 3 already gone. Bob, it'll zip forward with the Vortex, but you've always got Mavis right behind him if necessary. Force Staff away, but Tino, he's not going to get the Horn Toss, and now he gets jumped on. They lose, just tearing him apart on the Ember. In they move. They will try one last time as Palos. He's popped the BKB. They'll even buy back on Tino, but they're doing no damage. Tino, he blinked in, but the Horn Toss is way off the mark, and now he's caught out. That'll be a dieback on Tino, and I think that's just game. And they can keep trying, but... Well, there's your gobble up. Natsumi, he doesn't even need to TP anymore. He'll just get sent in by the Snapfire as they do get him out, but what does it matter? I mean, how do you kill him? Yeah, silence is there. The IO will try to heal him up. It just won't matter. Natsumi takes him out. They won't call it. No, they will call it. I was going to say they might keep trying to defend, but I see absolutely no point in it. They do eventually call it, and well, Polaris going back to a bit of a comfort pick here for Natsumi to take game number 2.
Yeah, and this time around, Polaris executes a lot better. We see that aggression come out from Force. They have supports that can play a lot faster. You know, Xavius wasn't just sitting back, farming up a Blink, trying to work towards a BKB. They could work the map a lot more, and they gave Lelouch something that he could playmate with. And that's the big difference, I think, in comparison to Game 1, where you had Necrophos, he won lane, but there's not much you really do in setting tempo as a Necrophos. This time around, his Ember just managed to take control. Natsumi was very active as well. And I think for the side of Execration, I mean, it kind of looked better, right? Laning phase for Bob looked better. Laning phase for Palos up against the Mars was a lot better than Game 1, but they had no way of stopping all of that counter control coming through from Polaris. With the Omni Knight just did a lot of work. I think Mavis's positioning was one of the key aspects. Those repels were just really strong. The Heavenly Grace was really strong and just broke off all of Bob's initiation there.
It certainly did, John. It just felt like Execration had absolutely no chance in that game number 2, but we'll head off to a short break. Of course, there is going to be a game number 3 coming up. So it is MLP Johnxfire. We'll see you all again very, very soon.